My name is Adrianna, and education has played a crucial role in my family's success. Thanks for the opportunity to hang out with you today and tell you a little bit more about my personal story. I was raised in North Denver. My father was from Mexico, the state of Hidalgo, and my mother was Irish American and raised in an orphanage off of 50th and Federal. I went to Brown Lake in North High School. My parents started La Fonda restaurant over 50 years ago, and it's still in existence on 38th and Sheridan. And then they started El Sol Foods, which created tortillas for Safeway, the first tortilla company here in Denver. And then eventually Ready Foods, which makes food for restaurants around the country. While I was young, I had the good fortune that our father brought us as a family to Mexico on several occasions to hang out with our family. Unfortunately, at that time, we didn't speak Spanish. We were growing up here in Denver when there was a lot of discrimination, and it was really discouraged for younger generations to use Spanish because the older generations had suffered so much. It wasn't until high school and college that I finally was able to better speak Spanish and learn to read and write it. It's very important that even though you're a Spanish speaker, a lot of you now are comfortable using Spanish. A lot of you can't read and write it, so it's very important to learn to read and write in Spanish as well. Spanish opens up a whole number of doors as far as travel, as work opportunity, enjoyment. Could you imagine life without listening to the different types of Latino music, the cumbias and the norteña music and a little bit of everything? I self-identify as Chicana, Mexicana, and Latina. I grew up with the identity of being Chicana because I grew up here in Denver when the Chicano civil rights movement was in its heyday in the late 60s, early 70s, under the leadership of numerous leaders, but the one that is perhaps the most famous was Rodolfo Corky Gonzalez and the Crusade for Justice. The people involved in the movement throughout Colorado opened a lot of doors for me as a young Chicana growing up here in Denver, in that I began to question authority, question why we weren't given the opportunity to learn about our history and culture. And I had the good fortune to go on to college and eventually study Chicano studies and Latin American studies. I highly encourage you, if you don't go on to college, to go on to a trade school or learn on your own. Always keep your sense of curiosity. We were raised with the understanding of the importance of education and travel. I highly encourage you to get out from just your own backyard. Well, you need to know your own backyard very well. But after you get to know it, you need to travel around Denver, around Colorado, around the United States, but also go to any other Latin American country. I've got to know about those countries and culture by reading about them and by watching films and by meeting people from those various countries. So I have a strong Latina identity. I very much am proud of all the cultural heritages of the Americas. And I love the fact that we are what we call la raza cósmica, or the cosmic race, throughout Latin America, in that we have mixtures of the Mongoloid or the indigenous, the Negroid from either our Spanish heritage or the Africans that were brought into the Americas. Not only the native or indigenous cultures, but also the Asian. There were a lot of Asians brought into Latin America, a lot of Japanese, a lot of Chinese, or the European. But we have to remember a lot of people are not just Spanish heritage. A lot of us, well, me for example, Irish heritage, or a lot of Chicanos have French surnames or Lebanese There were a lot of Lebanese traders here in the Southwest. A lot of mixture took place. A lot of Germans came to work in this region. And so it's really important for us to explore the diversity of our people in this region and throughout the Americas. What we're doing is creating a Latino cultural arts campus with 3 locations. 2 of them are here in Sun Valley and 1 is in La Alma Park. I would encourage you to go onto our website or to follow us on Instagram under LCAC Denver and learn a lot more about our collection. The Abarca family collection is the largest collection of Chicano, Mexican American, and Mexicano folk art and fine art here in the Rocky Mountain region. And then you can see as we progress from having our store Hijos del Sol to opening Las Bodegas, which will be a community art space opening in 2022. In the meantime, we are having exhibitions around town. We had Hecho en Colorado at the History Colorado Center. We're going to be doing an annual Dia de los Muertos festival at the Auraria campus, and I would highly encourage you to participate. Just remember, it all comes down to getting an education, being a hard worker, being determined. And don't forget being generous and honest. Échenle ganas. Adelante.